oh my God, like, how does that even happen? How does it work that your keys can be locked in the truck and the truck is running? Like, does that even make sense? I'm just like, shut the fuck up.
You ever get the feeling that everything in America is completely fucked up? You know that feeling that the whole country is like 1 inch away from saying, that's it, forget it. Let's see.
Hey, Twister Man. Now look, here's a house full of bees. You think the honey badger cares? It doesn't give a shit.
Listen, let's get one thing straight.
Price is right.
Guns don't kill people. I do.
Wow. Thanks for that, Bill. Well, for actually giving a real answer to a question.
Stand up and proudly say, God bless you. God bless you. Bill of Rights and Famous. God bless you. I've got a shame to say I'm proud of this. And I'm proud to admit I'm Cameron and I'm ignorant, but I will never take this off got spurs in my feet, a rope in my hand, got a pistol on my side, I'm the quickest in the land, I'm a cowboy. And I'm a cowboy and a man, he's a special kind of breed that lives off the land. I'm a cowboy man, that ain't no lying. If you're gonna mess with me, you're gonna have to die. I'm a cowboy.
I think some apologies are in order.
What in God's name was that?
Smoking armadillos.
Huh.
You ever heard of them?
No.
Guess the era. I'll bet you nail it.
Early 90s.
Yes.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
That was the era known as music being made for people that didn't really like music.
This band is good, dude.
Really?
I think you'd like them. They're a very...
I'll have to listen to one of their other songs.
Well, yeah, I know. I kind of picked their... Like, the reason I picked that song is because I was searching on the way home for the the Kid Rock song, Cowboy. I'm a Cowboy or whatever. I don't know why, but I was going to play it for Junior because he loves Cowboys, but... Anyways, I was just kind of looking through Spotify, like how many songs are like I'm a cowboy, I should have been a cowboy, I wish I was a cowboy, from Cool Mo D to these guys,
right?
You know. But I stumbled across this band. I'd heard of the Smoking Armadillos before, and I started listening to this whole album. It's really good.
Really?
Yeah, it's like country rock. But heavier on the country than the rock.
Yeah.
Like if you put them up against old 97s, you know, old 97s is like way more just rock music with a little country tinge. These guys are like full on like country guys.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. Pretty good. I'd recommend it. So I was watching a documentary. Made me think of you.
Okay.
Inside the World's Toughest Prisons.
I've seen some of these.
So this guy goes
I'm always
around.
a sucker for a good prison documentary.
I know. Me too. This guy goes around to the world's toughest prisons, and here he is, the first episode of the show. This is on Netflix. He's in Finland, which everyone, you know, when you think of dangerous prisons, you think of Finland.
Definitely.
Of course, right? So check out how gnarly this prison is. This guy that's talking to him right now is telling him...
Käyttää vähän maalaisjärkeä.
What kinds of criminals am I going to be living with?
Esimerkiksi tällä osastolla on monenmoista rikoksentekijää, on pahoinpitelijää, voi olla vaikka tappomiestä, on huumausainerikollisuutta paljon.
Drug-related criminals.
Thank you.
This is the guy that goes, I remember he goes into the prisons.
Yeah.
Makes himself an inmate.
Yeah. And so they're showing you right now, like, just how gnarly.
With 14 cells for 18 prisoners, some have to share. The communal area and kitchen are covered by CCTV cameras, monitored by guards in a control room at the end of the wing. But there are no cameras in the cells, and I'm now alone with the inmates.
Oh, shit.
First impressions, it's so quiet. It's eerily quiet. You know, as prisons go, there's no hum, there's no buzz, there's no hollowing and shouting.
Man,
of course,
gnarly.
When you're a newbie, you're going to be a bit hesitant about who it is out there. And they will inevitably want to size you up from the moment you walk out there. And I've already walked past a couple of really big guys who just their appearance could be quite intimidating.
This guy was wrongfully put in prison for like decades, wasn't he?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, yeah.
Yeah, he's no stranger to prison. He's been in real prisons.
So far we know that they don't have roommates. And
right. Well, sometimes they have to share rooms.
Okay. And it's eerily quiet.
It's very quiet.
Okay. As someone with kids, my first reaction is like, what you guys vacancy here?
What do I got to do to get in there?
I just shared a 16-foot trailer with a 10-year-old. It sounds like heaven.
Babe, I'm just going for the weekend. I just need this me time, please. You can tell this place is gnarly because the guys that are in there have tattoos.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you noticed that, but they're really painting the picture. Okay. Plus, again, the music lets you know how gnarly it is. Okay, so keep paying attention here. This is about to get real.
But look, let me go and find out what's going to happen to me in the next 7 days.
Hello.
Introduce myself. I'm Raphael.
Tony.
Tony.
Yes.
Nice to meet you, Tony.
Fuzzy.
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 Thank you. Yeah. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Did I meet the other guys? Hi. Marco. Yes. Hi, Marco. I'm Raphael.
Okay.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. How you doing? I'm Raphael.
I know.
Yanni, nice to meet you. Oh, I have plates and cutlery.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, this is what you need when you're starting here, you know.
Okay.
You get the start back.
Yanni and the big guy Tony seem pretty.
Yeah. They show your new digs.
Yeah, they're talking about how to get the food now and
friendly handshake.
Yeah,
eye contact.
Yeah, but they could easily be intimidating.
Everyone's
to
jumping
new
out of their
inmates.
seats so they introduce themselves.
He's saying they're being really nice to me, but this could easily be intimidating to new inmates. How?
Especially back in the cells where the guards can't see.
Did they give everybody these things?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
More tattoos.
Okay. Tell me about the rules here in the block.
Just be yourself and don't mind another business.
When someone coming here, if we don't knew each other, you know, I asking paper or why you here or
What is your crime? What you do?
Yeah.
Why,
of course.
Why does that matter?
If you some sexual
offender
or something pedophile,
they get knocked the fuck out.
Yeah.
So they knock out pedophiles.
Yep.
Okay.
Is there someone in charge of this wing? Do I need to know whether anybody deserves more respect than others?
No, nothing like that. Mind your own business and be yourself. That's enough.
Just be yourself and mind your own business.
It's cool.
Wow. This goes on like this. The work that they are putting in editing this to try to make it seem scary.
Yeah.
This seems like the most chill, easygoing, like a halfway enjoyable prison experience that I've ever seen. Like, if this is what prisons were actually like who would care if they went to prison? Like you were saying, it might be a welcome reprieve from your day to day.
Yeah, take a break, take a couple days off.
Yeah, do you have to worry about people being violent? No. If you're a
unless you're a
pedophile,
yeah.
you'll get knocked out. But
that's about it. Just be yourself.
Yeah.
Mind your own business. Here's your cutlery.
Yeah. They give them utensils.
Did you ever get into, I'll answer this question, you never got into black metal?
No.
So the bands like Mayhem and Burzum, but Varg Vikernes, I think his name was the mastermind of the band Burzum. And he was considered like one of the kind of godfathers of the black metal movement, mostly which that music is. I'm a huge like death metal, grindcore fan. Black metal is terrible. For the most part, it sounds terrible. The music's not very good, but it came with the whole so you've seen the bands with the corpse paint, they call it, where their face is painted white with like black around the eyes. Yeah. It's like a evil take on Gene Simmons, I guess,
but kind of theatrical.
Very. And they have the huge leather metal spikes, and they talk about burning churches and just like insane kind of fringe branch of metal. But Varg Vikernes, he headed up the band Burzum, and then he, for whatever reason, just got more and more extreme. He was known as like the extreme music guy, but he stabbed and killed his guitar player
Damn.
Euronymous, I believe his name was. And so they put him in prison. And I watched interviews with him. There is a book called Lords of Chaos that documents the entire like Norwegian, Swedish, Finnish, black metal scene.
Yeah.
But I watched videos of him after he was in prison. It was this nice little 1-bedroom apartment. He could still make music and release albums. You could go in there and interview him. He's talking on the phone. Yeah, and it was just...
he had a phone?
Yes. They had like a completely different... It's very similar to what you just showed me there.
Yeah.
So what we know in America as prison,
you just imagine there's one producer who didn't have the final say in this show. And on this episode, before they went to record it, he's like, you guys... Just trust me, we cannot do Scandinavia.
Yeah.
All right? There's nothing gnarly about Scandinavia.
But we need different music because the two don't jive with each other.
Well, that's what eventually happened. It's like, no, we're doing Finland, all right? And he's just like, fuck, all right.
I just put some like light classical music behind it.
He's just working as hard as he can. Cut again to the tattoos. We need more face tattoos. And then okay, in with the heavy music. Yes, we're making it seem gnarly. When you step back and look at it, you're just like, this is a fucking country club.
Yeah.
Like the conservatives in America complain about prisoners going to country clubs.
Yeah.
They have nothing on Finland.
No idea.
You know what? It's almost at the 15-minute mark in the show where we traditionally do our prediction.
Okay.
Well, not traditionally. The new tradition. Do you have one?
Yeah, I got one off the top of my head.
Let's hear it.
I think this might be fairly obvious to anyone that's
Liberty Tree prediction incoming.
At all paying attention to the basic facts of what's going on in Israel with Hamas right now. But it turns out most people are not.
Right.
Although strongly opinionated. But they just had everyone flee from the north to the south.
Of Israel?
Of Gaza. And they're beginning their ground assault there. And Gaza already I believe is the third most densely populated place in the world. They moved everyone from the north to south. It was already, there's 2 million people in this tiny little spot. And Israel's beginning the ground invasion in Gaza. And basically they took all this people in this incredibly densely populated area, moved it in, like basically cut the land area in half. Like, we're going to shell the shit out of this one spot. And my prediction is Israel will then claim the north of Gaza as their own and put on a tighter squeeze of the Palestinian people. So you'll have 2 million people basically in half the amount of room that they had before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think that's a pretty safe prediction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like it. I think that I don't like it. I just want everyone to get along, man. It's kind of my thing.
Yeah, we're weird fringe right wingers like that.
I just want to go on the record here that you and I are of a very rare opinion when it comes to the war and the pending war in Israel
and everywhere else.
I don't mean that the people that we know don't have this same opinion, or probably the people that are, blessed to listen to our show every week.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, I would assume, share this opinion. Actually, if you don't share the opinion I'm about to express, please write in and tell us. Kelly at libertytreelifestyle.com. The opinion is that we believe war is wrong. And what we see happening right now is a push towards war.
Absolutely.
And it was almost like the whole world needed just the slightest nudge to be completely 100% all in on war. And again, when I say the whole world, I don't necessarily mean real people. I mean the media and everyone that's posting stuff online and everyone that's reporting on this is just 100% all in for this war.
Yeah.
And they might be on two different sides of it.
One side or
they
the
don't
other.
care.
Yeah, correct.
They just want the war.
Yeah.
We have got to do this. We have got to fight. And it's just, you and I, are our opinion, just to make it, hit it again on the head with a hammer over and over again, is that we're anti-war.
People to stop dying. You know what I thought a lot about with over the last week as I was kind of following this stuff, and I'm a nerd, so I like to look into the history of places. I always have. I have years before looked into the history of this place because it's just such a kind of fascinating phenomenon. Yeah. It seems to be embroiled in a constant increasing conflict. And so you go, why is that? Mm-hmm. And you go in, and it made me think, I was thinking about this a lot over the weekend while we were camping, and it made me think about the skeptic brain. I was like, this is a beautiful exercise, because I have a reluctance to join on when everyone starts saying the same thing. As I always intellectually pull back, like, why is everyone saying the same thing? It's the same reason, like, let's all get in line for the new iPhone. Like, why? Like, okay, that's the last thing I'm going to do. Like, this is scary to me. This is like kind of eerie. And now we have the iPhone psychology, except for now it's murdering millions of people, for example. Yeah. And so I thought about the notion of the skeptic brain. And remember, we did this a couple episodes ago. We talked about one of the most useful tenets of the skeptic brain. It's you are giving yourself the permission to ask questions the same way that I did during 9/11. Just asking questions, like, for the stuff that doesn't make sense. Like, I'm not going to just jump in rah for whatever the narrative is, right? They hate our freedom. I'm going to order some freedom fries. Let's start bombing the shit out of other countries on the other side of the world, going like, you maybe think that mentality had something to do with where we got here, for example. And so the skeptic brain, people don't. 9/11, you're like, I'm not being crazy here. Explain to me how Tower 7 fell again. Like, I'm a little unclear on that. Like, jet fuel melts steel beams, but we found Muhammad Atta's passport laying in the rubble, like at the feet of a FBI agent or someone from the DHS. I'm cataloging the things that just kind of are standing out as like being a little incongruent with reality, for example. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. I have a narrative. I'm pushing for one side or the other. I hate America. I'm with the terrorists, as George Bush would say. But these are definitely like questions I would want answered, which I think is the beauty of the skeptic brain. Yeah, gives you the permission to ask those questions. So the first thing that I noticed, and I have no dog in this fight. I'm not pro-Hamas. I'm not pro-Israel. I'm the same thing. It's like, I want people to stop dying. Like, I want to stop. This is what drives me nuts. Is that a lot of this seems to be built upon like the foundation, like the ideological foundation of like Hamas. Just they fucking twisted off one day and went in and just started killing people. It's the craziest thing. Because they hate democracy, or they hate freedom, or they hate Jews, or whatever it is. You're like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, let's look at the history of this spot. And so then when, of course, everything that comes out in the beginning, you go like, this drives me crazy. Hillary Clinton said, like, it doesn't matter. The lie becomes the truth if you just tell it enough. And usually the first thing during these, conflicts, it always turns out to be completely false. All the footage we're seeing, very quickly, like so many of the things that went viral, you're like, that's from 2017. That's from Ukraine, you know what I mean? Or the Ukraine war. It's like that girl, here's a young girl yelling at Russian soldiers. I'm like, wait a minute, but it's February and she's in a tank top and shorts. And 5 minutes of research going like, ironically, that's from the Israel-Palestine border. That had nothing to do with Ukraine. As is many of the videos that we're seeing. They're just not, the roles were reversed, or it's videos from almost a decade ago. And so the skeptic brain asks questions. And so like the first things I notice, you go like, why am I seeing footage given that this is true or accurate? Like, I'm seeing Hamas and the IDF both trying to kill each other using the U.S. military-issued M4. Like, can someone explain that to me? That's a little odd. Or you go like, this is ostensibly the most secure militarized border in the entire world. It's 34 miles long. And Hamas, a ragtag group of right-wing militants, religious fanatics, breached it in 30 different spots.
Yeah, but the problem, I understand where you're coming from, but you have to think about the technology.
Their Air Force.
Yes. Yes, they were underestimated in the ability to put together an air force.
Yes, that was being witnessed, them drilling this exact exercise for the weeks preceding the attack by the IDF. And they go like, well, it's probably nothing.
Yes,
it might be
with
tourists.
with the tourism industry of Gaza, it was a clear mistake.
To the Israel-Palestine border.
The Israelis clearly
sightseeing.
mistook what they were doing for tourism practices rather than military practice.
So the skeptic brain just asks questions. And then you go like, Does anyone find it at all a little weird that so many members of Congress bought stock, like went big on stock with Raytheon, Boeing, and Lockheed Martin in the week preceding the attack? Like,
oh, did that happen? I didn't know.
That did happen.
Yeah.
Yes. And
See,
you
that's the
saw
thing,
the
though.
stocks of those companies went up, I think, that by the day after, like almost 30% for each one of those companies.
Your question is falling on deaf ears because
and I know this.
Nobody who is actually outraged looked into anything.
No.
Did any sort of research.
I support the current thing.
The current thing is all that matters. And it would be
And you
just
got
like
Zelensky over here like, hey, guys, over here. Like, come on.
Right?
Come on.
It's to me like if you even have an opinion on Israel and Gaza, I'm skeptical.
Yeah, me too.
Like, how much do you really know about it? Because even the people that I know who do know about the history, even their opinions are clouded by certain dogmas and things that's just so wrapped up in the Israel question.
Yeah.
You know, but it would be like if like Kazakhstan and Armenia apparently are beefing right now. And
As well as half of Africa.
You know that the day
But
that
this
it
is the
comes
one
out,
that we need to get involved in.
you know that the day that it comes out that this war or military skirmish is breaking out in Kazakhstan and Armenia, that there's going to be an acceptable opinion
right
on what's going on there.
Yeah.
And just like the Turkey thing. Remember when we were abandoning Turkey and the Kurds were going to just be annihilated in the north of Iraq, and it was just this humanitarian disaster waiting to happen, and everyone had an opinion on it.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
For about a week.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like, so is anyone that was saying something back then about how they knew for sure 100% we have to support the Kurds? Ask them now, what happened to the Kurds?
Yeah.
They're not going to know. Did they get wiped out? Are they still there? Did they leave? Are they? I guarantee they have no idea what you're even talking about now.
I'll do you one better. Is that for the people, and boy, is this overlap fucking hefty. For the people that have this strong, staunch, like unrelenting opinion on we need to stand with Palestine or Israel or whatever it is, just start asking some questions. Ask basic questions. Okay, number one, find it on a map for me. Where's on like you have this emotional, like aggressive opinion, find it on the map.
Yeah.
And then just go like, when was Israel established? That came from, I heard someone going like, we need to stand with Israel, blah, 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 blah. Like, these people have been at war for hundreds of years, and like now's the time to like fix it somehow. You're looking at it like, and this is like a blue check mark on Twitter. You're like, Israel was established in 1948. How on earth could they have been at war for hundreds of years? That makes no sense.
Did they?
Dude, 90 seconds on Wikipedia.
Tens of years is more accurate. Did they write 100? Because maybe they accidentally put an extra zero, or did they write out the word hundreds? Then there's no excuse.
Could have been a typo.
Could have been a typo. Give them a break, Matt. Even when you said that the north of Gaza was going to be in your prediction that it was going to be taken over by, which I mean, it's being taken over slowly, bit by bit.
Well,
I had to pull up the map on the screen here because I didn't even know that there was a north of Gaza.
There's a north of everything.
I know, but if it's oriented sideways, then you're taking over the north is hard because the border is so long.
It's all oriented sideways.
It'd be like taking over the west of Baja California. That's like hard. It's so long. Or the west of Chile.
Israel being established, and I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on Israel and the history of it, but the bare bones of it being established in 1948, and then immediate conflict, in the entire region. And their area, known as, the Gaza Strip, is, you could say that it's a little weird to say that Israel's going to go in and occupy the north at this point, which could be a prediction, which they're doing. They're bombing the shit out of it right now. So they took, there's 2 million people, but there's 2 million people in there already so densely populated and going like, we're going to move you to half the spot, bomb the shit. You can stay if you want, but we're going to bomb the shit out of it. A lot of militants are staying behind to like fight the fight, right?
But not only militants, but people who don't have the means to
and if you look at
have anywhere to go,
and if you look at basically the geopolitical landscape of that area and just the geography of it, it's completely surrounded by Israel and Egypt on the south, right? And Israel, and in cahoots with Egypt, has basically made a military blockade. There's two gates out of the Gaza Strip. One goes into Israel, which they're like, you're not coming through here. One goes into Egypt, you're not coming through here. And on the other side is the sea. Mm-hmm. Now they're allowed to go out and fish, but they're
not very far though.
No, I think it's up to 2 miles.
I think it's 2 miles.
Even if you accidentally go out there, they'll blow your the IDF will blow your boat out of the water.
Right, because clearly you're a terrorist if you're going more than 2 miles out to sea.
And if you look at the blockades they have made around the country, much like the ones that we have done in conjunction with the Saudis in Yemen, it's like we're just slowly going to starve them out, or we're going to limit the amount of resources, the food, the medicine, the water. Israel controls all the water, electricity, the food, anything that goes into that country goes through Israel or Egypt. Not much goes through Egypt. It almost entirely goes through Israel. These people being diametrically opposed and mortal enemies of each other, you can imagine how that ends up for all these Palestinians, right? Is they have been in increasing abject poverty, basically starting with the first war they had in like 1967, and there was another military skirmish in 1973. Israel won both of those wars, and they basically we don't occupy it, but you kind of do. It's a prison they cannot leave.
You keep saying we.
Yeah, you. I meant you.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I meant you.
For clarifying.
Well, it is kind of we because Israel, we are such staunch allies with Israel. Like we stand with Israel no matter what. You can go into the history of that, which I'm not going to go into right now. Like I haven't done nearly enough digging. This has gone on for so long and it's so like geopolitically complex. It's almost like you'd have to spend your life's work like trying to understand what's going on with this region. Point being, is that when people see a video on Instagram or Twitter and immediately make up their mind and go like, I'm standing with them. They're the good guys and they're the bad guys. It is so much more complex and nuanced than that. And it's incredibly irresponsible to just shoot your mouth off like that. And some of these people are men and women of, public significance, congressmen, for example. And when you get that in the closet, fucking blood-soaked monster, fucking Lindsey Graham goes, my stars, we just need to turn the place into glass. And you're like, okay, that can be your position. I understand. You're an Israel sycophant, right? And but the next thing I want to come out of your mouth is that you are okay with killing 1 million children. There's 1 million children under the age of 15 in Palestine right now.
We're going to give them 12 hours to escape.
Okay. We're going to give 1 million people 12 hours to completely relocate and go to the other end of their already prison. And I'm not saying I'm for Israel.
They just go into Israel.
But for the people that say this, for the people that go like, yeah, you just got to nuke the shit out of Hamas. They're like, well, what is Hamas? How did Hamas come to fruition? Where do you get a Hamas? Is it the same way that we got in Al-Qaeda and Boko Haram and in ISIS? Is it you go in and devastate and put an entire population in abject poverty, starve them to death, famine, dying from easily curable diseases?
It's even worse than that. It was actually an organization that was funded and supported by Israel.
And the CIA. Because we want to, at that time, battle, correct me if I'm wrong, Yasser Arafat and the PLO. So just like we created Al-Qaeda.
Well, I just heard quotes. I don't know if it was Scott Horton talking about it or it was on Dave Smith, but the quotes from Israeli, either Sharon or their defense minister or the equivalent back in the day, their direct quotes in the media were saying that we need Hamas. I'm butchering this, so please look this up yourself. Don't take my word for it. But we need Hamas because we need to have the governing body or the people in charge of the West Bank to be extremists. We can't have them being reasonable, because if they're reasonable, then they're allowed to, the people will eventually be allowed to vote, and we'll eventually have to give them a two-state solution, their own state or whatever. It is so much more advantageous for us to have extremists at the helm for these people, because no one in the world is going to take the extremists seriously.
Side note, Al-Qaeda. Side note, ISIS. Side note, Boko Haram. That's how we get these organizations. And think about even shorter term, right? So let's ignore the history, the complex history, right? Like you have to go back all the way back to 1948. Like, how did we get here? Which would take some homework, which no one is willing to do because they don't care. It's like, I want to accept whatever narrative is given to me. But let's say, all right, the place is fucked up. That's our starting point, right? We're going to ignore the history. We're going to ignore what, has been done to the Palestinian people up to now. We're going to ignore what's being done to the people of Israel. And like, we're here now, right? This isn't, as I was saying before, Hamas didn't just twist off one day like, man, let's just go invade Israel and see how it turns out for us. I mean, they will be, Israel has one of the most powerful militaries in the entire world, especially since it's backed by the U.S., But when you think about, like, this has been going on for decades, including the wars in 1967 and 1973, is think about just, like, put yourself in the minds of the people in Palestine who are already in abject poverty, and their money is worth nothing. It's almost impossible. Like, one of the few things they rely on is fishing, which now, like, we have a 2-mile border where we can go out and fish. I would guess that those waters are overfished, and so you get the dad trying to support his family. He goes out and like, I'm just going to test the border a little bit and see if I can get, make a couple of dollars for my family or bring some fish home so we can eat, where his boat gets fucking blown out of the water. He's got 3 kids at home. All of a sudden, the breadwinner of the family, who was barely making it up to that point, is gone. He's got, let's just say, a 3-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 10-year-old at home. And he come home like, yeah, the IDF just blew your family up. And so you get, in 2007, Hamas takes over the government. This very far right, they are a terrorist organization. They are militant, fucking terrible people. What do you think those kids are going to do? They're going to join Hamas, or are they going to go like, nah, let's give peace a chance? Those kids are going to join Hamas. That's how we get to where we are right now.
Yeah.
And it drives me nuts that the history of this area is entirely fucking ignored just because of what they saw on CNN.
I'd like to hear, too, we should... I don't want to put him on the spot, but one of our friends I was having this conversation with recently, and his stance is much more...
Reese Witherspoon?
That was with her knife. is much more in defense of...
We need more obscure inside jokes.
Yeah, that's... We should try to alienate our audiences more.
Even more.
His support of Israel is much more forgiving than ours, or his he sees Israel's right to exist in a different way than I do.
Yeah.
Let's just say I don't even really know what your position is on it, and I would like to hear him.
I don't
say,
have one.
Well, but what you're saying. Well, what you're saying, I think, makes sense. And I would like to hear someone who does have a position on it try to either defend Israel's right to exist or defend Palestine's right to exist based on these facts. And maybe, do I have the facts wrong? And what I believe those facts to be are that before World War II, this region, the east bank of the Mediterranean Sea, by all accounts, probably a desirable place for anyone to live.
Right.
Probably some of the best weather in the world, fertile, easy, central place to live in the world. That this, before World War II, this area was not inhabited by a Jewish state.
Right.
Maybe Jews lived there. I wouldn't doubt that. Then after World War II, there was a decision made by people whose authority I think is questionable.
Superseded in their own heads the people that already lived there.
And said, now we're going to carve out a state, a section here for the Jewish people. And Israel would say, well, we're not, entirely Jewish in our state. There are Muslims and Christians that live there, but it's 80% Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so a religious state was carved out of this area.
I believe it's 80-something% Jewish. I think 2% Christian, and I think the rest is Muslim or other. Well,
So
Palestine.
people that defend it would say that, well, Muslims are allowed to live in Israel,
and vice versa.
So my question is, where do I have it wrong? That were people not displaced by the Jewish state being put there?
Mm-hmm.
And if I have that wrong, I'd like to hear what the counter to that is. But that's what it seems like to me. So we're looking at a map here of the original borders of Palestine. And the current versus the current.
1946, 1947, blah, 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 1949, up to 2007.
So this is
almost nothing.
This is what do they call this? The West Bank?
No, West Bank's on the other side.
This is...
oh, no, that is the West Bank.
This is Gaza.
Yeah.
And this is the West Bank, right?
Right.
So the map that we're looking at is just showing kind of how those areas shrank. And so this actually goes to your prediction. Notice these, because one of the ongoing kind of issues is the idea of settlements that are happening in this area. The original UN plan did not give all of this land to Israel. A lot of it was supposed to be preserved. Yet they didn't start out with two states. It's not like there's a Palestinian state. These were just kind of like occupied territories or non-state territories, and they've just shrunk and shrunk and shrunk over time. And I don't know. I would like to hear what the argument for that being okay is.
I don't even take it that far. I mean, we should get there, but right now there's such a more like kind of atrocious thing going on, and that's the people that are, presumably calling for war to like glass the place, to attack Hamas, and Hamas is just the government. It'd be like if someone yelled at us for the atrocities that our government has committed in Yemen and Syria, Jordan, Egypt, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Somalia. I'm like, how long do you want the list to be?
It would be like someone yelling at us for the atrocities that our government committed up until 1865 with slavery.
Right.
Okay, that happened. Yes, and now we're still suffering for that, allegedly, right? Even though the wrong was righted, it will never be enough.
No.
And that's what this is. Even if you turned that area to glass, which if you did, it would soon, as soon as it was habitable, people would move back in there because it's a nice place to live.
Think about what that entails, to go back to Lindsey Graham, and there's other people, our elected officials, I'm using my finger quotes there, are saying that. Just turn the place to glass. It's Hamas. They're a terrorist organization. They are a terrorist organization. They're awful people. But what comes along with that is killing 1 million children. Let's just take just the children. You have to. I want that to be in the next sentence that comes out of your mouth. Like, turn the place into glass. Just bomb the shit out of them. We could wipe them off the face of the map. Okay. But the next thing I want to come out of your mouth is, let's just say, I'm not even going to assume that you know any basic history of like what's going on in this region. The next thing I want to come out of your mouth is, I'm okay with killing 1 million children. It's the same thing as Madeleine Albright when we were in Iraq, and they brought up the fact like, hey, we're up over, we have a mortality rate of over 500,000 innocent civilians in Iraq, children and women, the majority of. He's like, are you going to find that? You think it's going to be worth it in the end? And she looks right in the camera. She goes, yeah, I think it'll be worth it in the end. And you go like,
worth it.
You're a fucking psychopath. You're going to hell.
She said it was worth it.
Yeah, she said it was worth it.
Here's the problem. Let's just say we do that. Okay, your enemies have been defeated. Now all Israelis can rest easy that there is no Hamas inside Israel. Okay, are you guys going to just kind of integrate now with the rest of your neighbors? No, because they all hate you too.
Yep.
So you are never going to be able to give up this victimhood, even if you nuke Gaza and the West Bank. Then what are you going to do? You're going to have to nuke Egypt and nuke Jordan,
Syria,
and Iran. When does it stop? When do you finally stop being the victim?
Yeah.
Here. And that's kind of what I see is that driving all of this is that Israel needs victimhood in order to exist. I was talking to you about that.
So you're pro-Palestine is what you're saying.
Well, I know that's kind of what you get painted into that picture, right?
I know.
It's just like us always joking about we're not Trump supporters, but I got to defend the guy.
We're joking when we say that. We're not, but we're joking. It's like, but it's also, you're kind of kidding on the square. It's like, why do I feel the need that I constantly have to say that? I have to say like to people, they're like, it's insane what Hamas did. Like, we just need to level the place. I'm like, well, there's a history to look at. There's a reason why Hamas exists. There's a reason why they come to power. There's a reason why a country supports it. I'm like, it's very nuanced. This isn't black or white. And you got to go like, listen, I'm not a Hamas supporter. And you're like, it's so ridiculous that I have to say this. I'm not pro-Israel either. Here's where I'm at, is we need to stay the fuck out of it. That's my opinion.
That's a very mature opinion. The analogy that I think of is that Americans are like battered children that grow up in a violent household.
Right.
And so all we know is that if there's a conflict, the solution
just start punching people.
Is violence.
Right.
And so as soon as this skirmish, this attack happened,
which was horrific,
terrible, violent terrorists attacked innocent people, killed innocent people in Israel, which is awful.
Reached the most secure military border in the entire world in 30 different places.
Well, they had parasails, Matt. You keep overlooking this.
Paragliders and American-made M4s.
Don't think for a second that I forgot what I was about to say. Okay. I lost my train of thought. Okay. Because I did not.
I did not think that.
What I was going to say, is that as soon as we see any sort of conflict in the world, our knee-jerk reaction is, well, let's get some violence going. We can handle this with violence.
Right.
And you and I, being the advanced Homo sapiens that we are,
this terrible violence, we can fix it with more violence.
More violence. That is the solution. Now, yes, I believe in self-defense.
And that's why we need you to pay taxes.
Yes. What
about the roads?
Exactly. I believe in self-defense as much as the next guy, but every solution isn't violence. So we were hanging out this weekend with some feds.
Which was fun.
The couple of campsites over from us were a bunch of law enforcement guys. And Matt noticed who they were because you saw the stickers on the truck that said State of Jefferson, and what was the other one about guns or something?
Black Guns Matter.
Black Guns
Which
Matter.
is funny because I talked to that guy about a sticker. And I'm like, I see you got a Black Guns Matter sticker. He goes, you know what's funny is I had someone flip me off about that sticker and call me a racist. I was all, really? Did you have time to yell back at them that Black Guns Matter is the organization put together by Maj Touré, who's a black guy, like a Second Amendment advocate? He goes, nah. It's like, what do you do with those people?
I don't even think he knew that.
I don't think he did either.
Because his sticker to him means...
I was like, that organization is Maj Touré. He's like, no. And I told him that, and he goes, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
He's like, I wish I would have known that.
I wouldn't have put that sticker on my truck. That's probably what he was thinking. He meant like the color black guns matter. Like, so, yeah.
I urge anyone to check out Maj Touré if you're interested in Second Amendment advocate rights and conflict resolution. Maj Touré is like one of the kings. He's like upper crust, like amazing. Like the work he's doing is really incredible.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And he's this and just not to pat our team on the back, but he had the same things to say that we are saying right now about what's going on with Hamas and Israel. He's like, dude, there's such a deep history here. You can't just shoot your mouth off saying like we need to bomb them. Whether you think you're pro-Israel, you think you're pro-Palestine, it's much deeper than that. He's like, at the end of the day, U.S., we should just not be involved. We have to, at some point, we have to draw the line. What did Dave Smith call it? He's like, why don't we go sober 6 months? Let's go 6 months without starting a war or getting involved in a military conflict.
Yeah.
Just try it. Let's just see how it feels. And then we'll start calling Somalia and Syria and making our amends. Like, hey, I'm real sorry, Yemen, about that blockade that killed, cholera and famine and starvation and dehydration that killed millions of your citizens. Like, man, if you could just extend the olive branch here. That'd be great. And then we'll call Somalia, and then we'll call, Afghanistan, and we'll call Pakistan, and just make our amends. Let's just see how it feels. You know what I mean? We do a sober October. Not this year, obviously, but us and our friends do like a sober. Like let's just kind of recalibrate here for a little bit and see what it's like.
They were fun to hang out with, though.
Yes.
How about that guy handing me his loaded pistol?
We had 4 or 5 guys handing us loaded pistols.
No, everyone else's pistol was not loaded.
Oh, yeah.
That dude handed it to me, and I kind of looked in the chamber just to see if it was loaded, and there was a bullet in there. And I was like, oh, shit. And so I ejected it. And then I realized there was a magazine in the gun as well.
You dropped the round, took out the mag, but when you drop the round, it means you loaded another round.
Yeah, so I had to.
You got another one.
Because I didn't realize it had a magazine in it, and then I dropped the magazine out and had to pull that one out. And I was like, dude, you just handed me a loaded gun. All of his friends, too, were like, this is how people get shot.
That was interesting.
I wanted him to feel what it was like with the...
Because the one guy was saying, like, dude, easy. Like, you're waving that thing all over. I'm like, well, you're supposed to clear your gun. Like, don't hand someone a loaded gun like that.
Yeah. Well, I would never hand someone a loaded gun.
Yeah.
And these guys were all cops and all kind of...
he was in the wrong there.
It was, and I was being safe with it. Yeah. I checked, like I always do, to see if it was loaded, and it was. And I thought there was just one bullet left in the chamber.
Yeah.
But it turns out there was a full magazine in there, and I had to deal with the situation. But those guys were... giving us the worst advice because all of them have qualified immunity or zero chance of ever getting busted. They're like, fuck that California legal shit. I go, look, here's my magazine. It has 18 in the magazine, 1 in the chamber.
17 plus 1. I'm fine.
Yeah.
He'll come after me. I'm protected by this organization and this union. Blah, blah, blah. Like,
good for you.
Yeah, well, it's great, but not us so much.
Anyway, so the abused children, let me just finish my abused children analogy here. Anytime we see any sort of conflict, the knee-jerk reaction is we have to go to war. That's how we solve it. And I'm here to say there could be some other solutions. There are obviously other things that we can do to solve this problem besides just going to war, right? I mean, what kind of just monkey thinks that the only solution to foreign affairs is
violence is more violence.
War.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the damage that it's done in our lifetimes and how many terrorists are fighting against the United States and against Israel. And in their words, I mean, Osama bin Laden's written declaration of war against America is a great example of this, that you guys bombed the shit out of our countries. You killed so many people in our countries for no reason. That's why we're going to war with you. Right or wrong. I'm not saying that I think that his reaction of violence towards us was the right one either.
Yeah.
But violence begets more violence.
Right.
And even the people that you look to right now that, going back to what I was saying when we first started this conversation, you and I we have in rare company, and I'm sure we will get a little bit of pushback from this episode from our friends, but we don't believe that there should be any more violence. We think that de-escalating what's going on over in Israel is the best solution possible. Yeah. But what you hear from like Vivek Ramaswamy, who is allegedly our boy, is that
I know nothing about that guy.
The problem,
I give a shit about him.
He says that this is going to be a distraction and going to push, encourage China to take advantage and invade Taiwan, and that we need to be hawkish on Taiwan.
He's just another one of them.
We do not.
Another one of them.
Again, with the violence.
Yeah.
Like anytime there's a conflict, it's like, okay, we got to be violent back.
Let's bomb the shit. Let's teach them a lesson. Let's bomb the shit out of them.
Yeah.
I have changed my mind. I came from a smarty pants college, pseudo intellectual, anti-war. 9/11 and invading Iraq was like kind of my red pill, my turning point, when I was like, wait a minute, why are we invading Iraq? And then I just started to question everything. I already had kind of that contrarian brain, but I have changed my mind on so many issues, especially when you start having a family. Your worldview, your perspective on reality changes quite a bit, and how things should be run. I will say this: the one thing I have been completely consistent on my entire life is anti-intervention and anti-war. It has never changed. It's funny to me that has gone from a bleeding heart liberal, dipshit leftist position to now, Ukraine, and now here with Israel. Like, no, we should not be involved. Stop fucking around in other countries. 10 out of 10 experts agree that if you bomb the shit out of someone and kill someone, their kids will grow up to hate you, and they will act on that accordingly. They'd be flawed if they didn't. I cannot blame them.
Do you have a source for that study?
No.
You look at Taiwan. Who the fuck cares about Taiwan? Why do we give a flying fuck about this tiny little island in the ocean next to China?
It's like, this is the thing that we're standing for.
Exactly.
And you tell people, we're like,
it's the keystone.
What's going on in with Hamas and Israel right now has been going on for decades in like several African countries. We don't care about that.
Yeah.
What we are actually doing this in Yemen, and we did this in Syria. That's not what we're talking about. This one's different. Like, this one's different. Same with Ukraine. Like, the same people that are telling you that Saddam had WMDs and then we need to invade and, to quote Donald Rumsfeld, you're like, well, in the area to Crete, he's basically the labs are slightly north, south, east, and west of there. You're like, who is fucking buying this? Like, who is fucking buying this? And we killed almost 1 million people because of people like that giving those speeches. And the same people, all these like bleeding heart liberals, leftists, myself included, who said like, this dude is a murderous psychopath. All of a sudden, like the switch is flipped. We're like, no, we got it right this time. So we need to go into Ukraine. We need to go into Israel. We need to turn Palestine into glass.
We need to wage war against China.
Yeah.
To defend Taiwan.
Right.
Bullshit.
It's like, what has changed?
Right.
Let's just take the last 30 years of every country we've been involved in. Has any one of those things worked out to the benefit of the people in that country or us?
Could we maybe try another approach?
It makes you think maybe this is being done for another reason.
If you guys want to support the show, listening to it is not enough. Tell your friends, tell your family. Go to Patreon and become a subscriber to get all sorts of cool shit that I will probably forget to send you. But if you remind me, eventually you will get that free shit.
On the third, fourth time.
Just ask any Patreon member out there. They've all received their cool shit. Also, rating and reviewing on whatever app you're listening on allegedly helps us, although I'm skeptical of that. Honestly, if you could turn us on to one of your friends or one of your family members or just a random coworker, we would appreciate it. And as always, tag us on Instagram, and Matt and I will buy you a sandwich.
Also, we're about to unveil our new hot sauce line.
Oh,
how that is
Jesus.
how that's going to roll out, we're not exactly sure, but it's going to be free for certain people. We just don't know.
Yes.
How we're going to make that decision yet.
In fact, if you're listening right now and you want the hot sauce, send us an email. We would definitely send you some.
Yeah, we just decided it. Email us, and we'll send you some free hot sauce and some stickers.
Dude, the chilies, I fucking forgot to bring it to you.
Yeah.
I pulled one today and tasted it, and I was going to bring it to you. The hybrid that I did of I think they were pasillas and jalapenos last year are fucking delicious.
Nice.
They look almost like a green bean, like a long green pepper. They're fantastic.
Very nice.
Yeah. It might be a candidate for our pepper.
I like that.
Pepper of choice. And it's ours. Like, we own the DNA.
Kind of a little Monsanto
exactly
spin on things.
How it all started.
Okay, so while the latest shiny object was weighed in front of our faces, this week it was Israel and Hamas. Last week it was something else, and before that was something else. Here are 10 headlines. I'm going to pitch these to you guys, and you let me know which one you want to hit. Here are 10 headlines that mainstream media chose not to cover, right? Okay. And the icon of this is CNN, Fox News, BBC, NPR, Reuters, all the kind of usual nonsense. Okay. Number 10, study hits newly vaccinated with bad news. Yes.
These articles came out on all the corporate media.
No
sites.
These are independent journalists that decided to cover stuff.
It was not covered by.
And they.
Sorry. When you said the.
So a lot of the independent media sources that I follow, they kind of go out of their way, like whatever the new shiny thing is, UFOs. Like, okay, what else is going on?
Right.
Like we're gonna
time to get serious.
At the same time, this other thing is still going on.
Yeah.
So one thing that I brought up earlier is, do you guys remember what the new shiny object was last week?
Gaza.
It wasn't Israel.
It wasn't Gaza. Gaza happened Saturday.
Got it. Oh, the Speaker of the House thing?
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So Kevin McCarthy being ousted and the turmoil that ensued and the bread and circuses continued. And meanwhile, then you check these independent media sources and you're like, oh, Biden just released the funding to start rebuilding the wall, which was he basically took Trump's blueprint for starting the wall again and started building a wall. Which
it wasn't exactly
3 years ago would have been like, this is horrifically racist, and like now we're doing that thing.
They altered the blueprint a little bit. The spacing on the bars is bigger.
And also
on Biden's wall.
It's not called a wall anymore. It's called a vertical perimeter that would inhibit.
It's a sign.
Unregulated.
It's a sign that says, please do not cross.
As a favor to me.
It's basically those orange cones that you see in the middle of the road during road work.
Yeah. It's the metaphor for the stickers on the grocery store for you to stand 6 feet apart. Those people, they walked 2,000 miles from Venezuela, and they're like, fuck, orange cone. I guess we're going to turn it around at this point.
Good news, though, no COVID tests. Come on in.
Okay, so from the top, gave you guys this one. Number 10, study hits newly vaccinated with bad news. That's my current favorite right now. Number 9, cancers are devastating students after vaccine mandates. Number 8, Rand Paul says lab cover-up will bring Anthony Fauci down. He's been saying that for a while. Number 7, Elon Musk makes bold statement about Hamas on X. We kind of hit that already. Number 6, your favorite, animal contraceptive and antibiotics detected in top 10 popular fast food chains.
Mm-hmm. Cow condoms.
To which I made the point, if you're eating meat from a fast food establishment, I don't want to hear your bitching opinion.
You deserve to eat
what
a cow
you just
condom.
found out is in that food. Number 5, upgraded toxic ingredients are undeniably present in HPV vaccines. That one's been kind of going on for a while. Number 4, people are fed up with COVID boosters. Only 2% of Americans have taken the latest shot.
Interesting.
I found another headline that says, America is now anti-vax because of this statistic. Yes.
Okay. So far, 10, 9, and 4 are my go-tos.
Do you guys remember Dr. Zelenko? Zev, they called him. He was
Remind me?
He was one of the guys. He's up there with Peter McAuliffe and Robert Malone. He's one of the first guys that came out saying like this whole COVID thing is nonsense. The thing with this booster, this COVID shot is dangerous. The booster is dangerous. It's not nearly as deadly as we were talking about, the virus, not the vaccine.
Yeah.
Vaccine, I'm using my finger quotes there.
Right.
Dr. Zev Zelenko's bold COVID claims have become undeniably true. He died. But people are still digging into his work. He was like one of the first guys that came out against like the COVID fuckery.
How'd he die?
Did he plane crash and 2 shotgun blasts to the chest?
And he tied himself to a tree before.
Yeah, he was on a security detail with Hillary Clinton, and then number 2, pathologist reveals concerning news about turbo cancers. I've been following this one quite a bit.
Turbo cancers is back.
Yes,
Great band.
they never went away in 2-3 years. And number 1, ivermectin, the drug once labeled horse dewormer, is now showing 15 anti-cancer mechanisms of action. And I have 3 bonus rounds if you guys want to do those too.
You just did 10, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I like 10, 9, 4, 3, and 1.
Mm-hmm. Jake, you got anything? Jake's on the show, by the way. How about an introduction?
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
That's enough.
Bonus 1. Bison organs have some incredible nutritional benefits that the globalists don't want you to know
This
about.
is the bonus?
Yeah, these are the bonus rounds.
Okay.
Bonus 2. Oncologist unveils why fasting for 48 hours is a potent therapy for COVID vaccine injuries.
Okay.
Which I've read a couple articles about that, which is kind of interesting.
I think fasting is vastly overlooked in its potential benefits.
And bonus 3. Cattle are being injected with mRNA vaccines, but one beef rancher is taking a stand. We've covered that before on another episode.
Yeah. I'm still 10-9-4-3-1 is my...
Number 9, oncologists. Late-stage cancers are devastating students after college vaccine mandates. Here's a report on 72 cases of turbo cancer in ages 18 to 24 in 2023. This is just a small sample of the thousands of tragic stories that are being out there. This is centered around the story of a guy named Spencer Ewan, who was diagnosed with a rare desmoplastic small round cell tumor. Are you guys following this at all?
No.
The rates of
I didn't
cancers?
understand a word you just said, by the way.
A 24-year-old all of a sudden had this. This ties into the other article we had, the turbo cancer.
Okay.
And the rates, have you seen the interviews with some of the doctors about the turbo cancers that are coming?
Yeah. I've only heard you talk about it, actually. I don't know much about it, but in the whole died suddenly kind of awareness that's out there right now, when I hear of a young person dying of a rare cancer, before I hear what they died of, which someone in my work world recently died of a heart attack, my age.
Yeah.
And of course, first thing I thought was, died suddenly. Some sort of vaccine injury. I'm 100% sure this person was vaccinated. Well, 99% sure. When I hear of someone dying suddenly from a cancer, though, I always go, oh, cancer. Well, maybe that wasn't a vaccine injury. Mm-hmm. Could it be? Are these turbo cancers related to the vaccine?
So Dr. Zev, as they call him, this is what a lot of his work was put up to. Turbo cancer is an anti-vaccination myth centered on gotta love Wikipedia. Centered on the idea that people vaccinated against COVID-19, especially with mRNA vaccines, are suffering from a high incidence of fast-developing cancers. The myth, spread by a number of vaccine opponents and related influencers, including doctors, have no factual basis.
No factual basis.
So, why don't we just take excess mortality rates?
Okay.
What do you believe them to be for people 18 to 45?
You mean besides climate change?
Besides climate, no, all excess mortality rates.
What do I think it is?
Yeah.
Other than climate change.
Other than climate change.
Just bad luck, probably.
Jake?
All right.
Okay.
Oh.
So some of the data that I've seen. What's that? Putin. Yes.
Of course. Okay. Yes. Sorry. I didn't pick up on where you were going there. Okay. I got it now.
Some of the peer-reviewed clinical data that I've seen is up to 43%. Now, this stuff is incredibly hard to verify, and so I'm not saying this. Totally
go into a little bit more detail on that because people hear those numbers and it's like, well, wait a second, what do you mean? So, explain what that means. That excess mortality is up 43% for certain age groups.
Yes, from 18 to 45. So I want you to think back to this. Think about do you remember the episode that we did with the guy who was I'm trying not to...
The insurance guy?
The insurance
executive,
guy.
Yeah.
And what was his main premise for him talking to us?
He was telling us that deaths...
No, I mean, like the way he was entering the conversation. He was like, first and foremost, I'm apolitical. I don't have... My job is to interpret data and to adjust my business. He likened it to Vegas. He's like, I'm in the life insurance business. The house always wins. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in
insurance
business.
Companies of all industries, they know what's happening.
Yeah,
down to a decimal point of who's dying, why they're dying, what they're dying of, because they have to pay money.
His Bible is the actuary table. He's like, I look at data and I adjust my business accordingly.
Yeah.
And what did he see in those actuary tables?
Extreme excess mortality.
Starting when?
I don't remember.
after the COVID shot was released.
Oh, you mean when? Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. So he said that it was that obviously the vaccination is killing people. The vaccine, air quotes, vaccine is killing people.
Yes. He said, like, I didn't go to this.
Which is why he couldn't tell us his name, by the way, or who he worked for.
Yeah.
Was that his company, which I do know the name of his company, is a very big player.
One of the biggest.
And they know, according to him, an executive in this company, that yes, the vaccine is causing death and injury.
According to the data that he's seeing. He's like, here's when the shot was introduced. Here's these excess mortality rates. I'm adjusting my business, therefore, to accommodate these new numbers. Like, that's my job. I don't care about the vaccine. I don't care who the president is. My job is to interpret this data in a clinical way.
I care about making money.
I care about making money. It's just kind of admirable.
Totally.
I really
100%.
like this guy. It's very forthright and very straight to the chase with everything.
Very
he's saying.
Randian, very pure.
Now, it's almost impossible to get real raw data, much like the footage that we're talking about with Hamas and Israel. It's like, this video could be from another war. They could have switched the script. It's Palestine and not Israel, whatever it is. You know what I mean? So, like we talked about before, that the CDC recently, I think 3 weeks ago, decided to stop reporting excess mortality rates. Does that stand out to you at all?
They shut down their website about that was reporting excess mortality. They didn't. Yeah. They didn't stop collecting the data altogether, but the website that they had set up to,
which is the VAERS program, that severely.
It wasn't VAERS. VAERS is still up and running.
Is it?
Yeah,
I think they've governed it quite a bit.
It was the other one though that they had. They'd set up this temporary one that was specifically meant to track vaccine injuries, and they decided that, well, that's come and gone. We're, good work, everybody. We're done with that. And now they're not recording those excess mortalities.
So when we talk about the walk out the front door test, or just like, let's just pretend I know nothing. And here's what I know. Here's like what I know. Like CDC shuts down that program. I'm looking at this other clinical data that shows a 43% increase in excess mortality rates. Could or could not be true. But when all the wind is blowing in one direction, I kind of feel that there's some meat on that bone. Would you not agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Jake?
Why don't we get the insurance company's data, or what's the release date on that kind of stuff, so that...
They do it quarterly.
Do they?
Yeah.
So people should be able to put this stuff together.
He does.
It's out there. Any journalist that's worth their salt could go, and they really wanted to get to the bottom of this issue, could go look at that data and report on it. But that's not happening in mainstream journalism.
So what do you guys think is the psychology behind...
Would you look that up? Actually, the CDC shuts down their vaccine injury reporting website or somewhere to that effect.
So let's just shoot from the hip here. What do you think is behind the psychology of, like, as a culture, of why something like information like that does not catch on? I mean, we know the obvious answer.
Are we talking about VAERS? Sorry,
it's not VAERS. Okay. It's another website that they had that was tracking vaccine injuries. Well, there's. From a human perspective, just a regular Joe living on the street, it's definitely much easier to take good news than bad news.
But all we get is bad news.
But if you're to reject bad news, is very easy.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. When you say good news, it's not necessarily good news. It's news that supports the narrative that's already in my head.
Yes, that makes you feel good, not have to question your core beliefs, question your own existence in some cases. Right? It is much easier for you to take the news that confirms your existence as it is.
Which is something that we talked about before, is that if you are one of those people, if you're one of those NPCs, the status or whatever, I just like when you go like that one thing is wrong, by the way.
V-safe. That's what it's called.
What you're saying is factually incorrect. Like, here's the data that supports my position. Is people's complete reluctance to even listen. This is why people get angry about, I'm using my finger quotes here, conspiracy theories. People's reluctance to even hear something that runs diametrically opposed to what's rattling around in that hamster cage of a brain of theirs is because if that thing's wrong, then maybe everything, because I've taken this all as the Bible, everything that MSNBC says, for example, or Fox or CNN or whatever it is, whatever the mainstream narrative is if that one thing's wrong, like, shit, maybe everything is wrong. And it's the people that shut down, what we talked about, the skeptic part of the brain. That goes into normative conformity. It's like, no, like that's not how my brain works. My brain works like I want to be part of the tribe. I want to go along with the flow. I don't want to be accused of deviant thinking, going against the narrative, and at least asking questions is what as we talked about in the beginning of the episode, is what the skeptic brain allows you to do. It allows you to ask questions. And though asking those questions drives people insane, and like they get fucking angry because you're slowly pulling out the foundational underpinnings of their entire belief system. I think a lot of people just can't go there in their head.
The VSafe website was the CDC's tracking website for excess mortality.
Right.
And so they've shut that down. Was that all that first article, number 9?
That's all one article right there.
Yeah. Okay. Go to number 4. It was related.
I got a different one.
Okay.
The complicity of compliance.
Okay.
And go through this article. I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Okay.
We live in an age of agendas. In the pursuit of them, behaviors that are otherwise deemed unacceptable supposedly become acceptable or even necessary. Justified by them, what is otherwise deemed immoral supposedly becomes moral.
Who wrote this?
This is from the Brownstone Institute.
Okay.
Which is, I highly recommend.
I love them.
The more I look into them, they're great. The champions of agendas make pariahs and even criminals of people who refuse to accept that the statement of a particular well-intended end can justify an otherwise harmful act just because it is claimed to be means to that end. Mm-hmm. So that, to me, goes to what we see as righteous lies. So we talk about let's pick the low-hanging fruit. So a guy like Anthony Fauci.
I've heard of him.
Lying about masks, lying about vaccines. He's like, well, I can't trust you people to make decisions for your own self. Like, I have to tell this lie, but it's for the greater good. This is when you hear, like, the greater good, when you hear that phrase come out of the political elite's mouth, you're like, this guy's a fucking liar. You have to think of that. It's what they are saying there is like, you dummies, you plebes, just let us make the decisions. Like, you can't be left to make your own decisions.
I think a really good example of that is, sadly, my uncle telling me that this was early on when Trump was elected, that even if Trump was not guilty of Russian collusion or whatever the topic du jour was, that it was okay because he was just so uniquely bad. And this is a person...
Perfect metaphor.
A person who is very intelligent... Just thought, you know what? It's worth it because he's so uniquely bad. I don't care if he's guilty or not. We just have to get rid of him.
This is something known as, and this is going to make people angry, this is what I call the chick brain, which is non-gender specific. It's like I'm not going to apply this to your uncle because I love your uncle. I think he's awesome. But people that think like that have chick brain. Like it's completely emotionally based.
Totally, yeah.
Driven by all I know is I hate this guy so much with all my soul. So whatever we have to do to send him to jail, to get him out of the White House, whatever it is, like that's all that matters. The same template can be applied to the Israeli-Palestine conflict right now.
Yeah.
It's like I have this emotional reaction and we're just gonna fucking level the whole place. Lindsey Graham.
Yeah.
Just turn the place into glass. It's like, okay, fine, that can be your position, but I want to hear come out of your mouth that you're okay with killing 1 million Palestinian children after that. That's chick brain. It's emotionally based. You saw a video on Twitter or YouTube or Instagram or whatever, and you emotionally react to it. You have no wherewithal or desire to look into the history.
Or you didn't even see the video. You just heard other people.
Or you just heard someone
talking about the video.
My neighbor stands with Ukraine, so I stand with Ukraine. Like, that's all that I need. That goes back to normative conformity.
Yeah,
for sure. During the COVID pandemic, the widely accepted right to bodily autonomy was effectively suspended as measures were put in place to coerce people to take an untested vaccine consistent with mass vaccination agenda. The First Amendment prohibition of government censorship of the media was effectively suspended as the state communicated directly and frequently with social media platforms to direct them to censor even true information consistent with the same agenda. There's people that would disagree with that paragraph just there. Like, no, that did not happen.
It just didn't happen.
That is factually true.
Yeah.
Alex Berenson, Peter McCullough, Robert Malone, Dr. Z. Like, that happened. People, and all those people that they censored because of disinformation turned out to be completely right about everything. Remember we did the episode a while
But they
back?
got an apology at least.
No, I think we declared a pandemic treaty.
Oh. Well, we're not going to go and just retry everyone for the crimes of the pandemic. I mean, we declared an amnesty.
Yeah, pandemic amnesty. That's right. How'd that work out?
We'll see.
Does it make you angry at all to like go back? I haven't let it go. I've had people like, you got to let it go. I'm like, why should I let it go?
Let what part go?
That the people that we went to for information, your Peter McCall's, your Robert Malone's, your Dave Smith's, Pete Quinones, Ryan Christian from Last American Vagabond. Well, listen, they were called right-wing extremists and fringe thinkers, and they got deplatformed. They were censorship, everything. And everything they said turned out to kind of, at least as far as we can tell right now, turned out to be right. Like, masks didn't do anything. The vaccine was dangerous. Vaccine didn't stop transmission. We shouldn't have shut down schools. Lockdowns didn't work. And what infuriates me is the notion of people going, well, just let it go. Like, no, I'm not going to let it go because this. So here we are, like, we are on the fringe again by saying, like, it's all going to happen again.
Yeah.
Like, they don't run something like that. Look at the Patriot Act and the Project for a New American Century that turned America into a surveillance state, and the mass erosion of civil rights. And they're like, none of that stuff got rolled back.
Right.
Like,
that's what's infuriating is people like, again with the Patriot Act thing. Like, come on, you guys, because you feel dumb bringing it up over and over and over again. But it's like, it didn't get fixed. Like, we're still dealing with
going on
that shit. We're still in a world where masking is acceptable and lockdowns are on the table for a reasonable response to some disease that the lockdown actually has no effect in curtailing. Yeah. It infuriates me? No, but
it still infuriates me. I have not let it go.
I get it. I mean, it's just like, that's the battle, though. Like, obviously, they're going to pigeonhole people like us into this, oh, you again with your conspiracy theories kind of.
The best moment is that you brought up on this podcast of saying, we brought this, like, look, take just COVID. Like, you guys were wrong about everything. You told me I was not allowed to come to your house. And now this is to quote you, you go like, well, what's for lunch?
Right. Yeah. I thought I wasn't allowed to your house.
The principle of informed consent was effectively suspended as untruths were told to get people to consent to a vaccine. First, our betters gave us such unqualified assurances that the vaccine was a vaccine. They had to change the definition of the vaccine to make that claim. We've covered that quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's the complicity of or the complexity of vernacular when people say the COVID vaccine. You go like, it's not a vaccine. Well, it is. Like, okay, technically you're right, but they changed the definition. CDC changed the definition of what a vaccine was.
Yeah,
which makes it a vaccine.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
my mom changed the definition of lynching. So what are you gonna do?
Always with your mom. They had to change the definition of vaccine is safe and effective, Anthony Fauci. And you're not going to get COVID if you get these vaccinations. That is patently false. We are in a pandemic of the unvaccinated Joe Biden, the winter severe illness and death, which turns out we're the only guys that did not get fucking sick during that winter. Fucking genius. Now the data tells us otherwise. Not only are the number and the kind of vaccine injuries shocking, our clinicians and scientists are starting to work out what likely caused them, including, for example, DNA contamination from the bacteria used to manufacture the shot rapidly and at scale. Thus, also, the basic duty to tell the truth was suspended in the name of this same agenda. So this article is pointing to the fact, so we talk about disinformation and people being deplatformed. This article is just, it's like a simple kind of glossary of like, let's just do a little worldview of like what happened in the last, what is it now, 3 years? These people were wrong about everything. And still, by us pointing out, using this metric of data and clinical studies and talking about the excess mortality rates of like, you guys paying attention to this at all? And you're like, it's one of two things. Like, no, you guys are still conspiracy theorists. I'm like, all right, call me what you want, but we got everything right up to now. And it's like, you can't call us at a certain point. What do we always talk about? Look at the track record of these people. It's like the people that we've been quoting and people we've been citing have been right the entire time. I'm like, why are we still being called conspiracy theorists?
We're the ones that were right. And I love when people come over to our way of thinking, and
which doesn't happen very often.
It does on certain issues.
It does.
And then still at the end of the day, we'll say, yeah, but guns are, evil, or they come over, they start buying guns and like, yeah, but climate change is a real thing.
Yeah.
Not that I'm right about everything, but it's like the pattern. If you take one step back and look at the pattern, like you were wrong about COVID. You were wrong about climate change. Like everything that you said was going to happen didn't happen. And yet you for whatever reason, there's certain like hang-ups in your brain that you can't like make the switch and come over to the right way of thinking on this issue.
Yeah.
On every issue. Not that we are right about every issue, but it's like just realize that your brain, you were tricked, and you realize the truth on one issue. How come that doesn't trigger this response on every other issue to think, wow, maybe I'm not thinking about that issue the same way correctly either? But they can't, most people can't do that.
That's what I was referring to earlier. It's like when you see something like, for me personally, it was 9/11. Like, so we're invading Iraq. That makes no sense to me. All of a sudden, I'm like, I got to start questioning everything at this point. I think the foundational underpinnings of what people call the conspiracy theory, which is a pejorative by and large, but we talked about the myth of the conspiracy theory. It's like, oh, well, you guys have a narrative. You hate global elites. You hate politicians. Like, blah, 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 blah. I was like, no. It's based, it's based wholly a lie. It's based wholly on pattern recognition.
No, but what they're saying, it's a lie.
Yeah.
What this conspiracy theory that you're latching onto, that climate change isn't real or that the global elites are molesting children, that's a lie.
Yeah.
But when we disprove that, not us, but when it is disproven out there in the world, they can't flip their brain to think, oh, maybe I was tricked.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, isn't that kind of the same thing as what you're
for sure.
saying? It's like, what is that? Like, you just can't. It's that allegiance to the narrative or the.
I think one of the go-tos that I always kind of rely on is that the notion of the conspiracy theory gets, it gets some hyperbolic, statement attached to it. And the perfect example is when people like to point and laugh at Alex Jones, like, oh, they're turning the goddamn frogs gay. I'm like, okay, that's ridiculous. Look at this Berkeley.edu study that says like the atrazine in the water is turning the frogs gay. I mean, not gay, but emasculates them and turns, some 20-something% of the frogs into females and they can't reproduce anymore. I'm like, okay, his delivery was a little off and a little sensationalist.
Yeah, okay, like, technically they're not gay.
But he kind of had a point there with that thing. I think the same goes with this COVID narrative that was shoved down our throats. is it's frightening to me of how few people are paying attention to these kind of things, much like what's going on with Hamas and Israel. It's like a willingly blind desire to look at just some basic facts of what's going on. Would you not agree?
That's what it is. Yeah, it's your adherence to your team's narrative over everything else, which is why the knee-jerk reaction to go to war is even more kind of dangerous, because we're talking about violence against your enemies.
We're talking about the idea and you're killing millions of children.
And you're doing it over a blind allegiance to a group. Like, I will nuke those children just because I stand with Israel. Or
I have more respect for someone that is willing to go, like, yeah, that's worth it to me. I have no respect for someone that puts up the flag in front of their house, whether it's Ukraine or Israel or whatever it is, and say, like, yeah, I stand for this current thing. Mm-hmm. I'm like, do you know what that entails?
Like, I'm building a nuclear.
You're willing to put that flag up in front of your house. Like, what that means is, like, we're gonna level that place, turn it in glass. Right. You're willing to put up this flag in front of your house to virtue signal to your neighbors. That means the death of over 1 million innocent Palestinian children. You're okay with that. I just want to hear it come out of your mouth. That person
says, yes, I'm building a nuclear bomb in my backyard.
So if they said that, I'd be like, all right, hats off.
Fine.
Like, you're a demented fucking psychopath, but okay.
At least you're putting your money where your mouth is.
Yes. I was like, but for the people that just blindly do that and put that dumb sticker on their car, like, I was like, I want to hear it come out of your mouth that you're okay with that.
Is the paragliding Israel or a Palestinian thing like a real thing, or is that just like a...
Oh, dude, it's a full-on meme at this point.
Well, I was riding down the road on my quarter horse, and I roped them doggies and a brand on my horse. I got spurs on my feet, a rope in my hand, got a pistol on my side. I'm the quickest in the land. I'm a cowboy. Head 'em up, move 'em out, a cowboy and a man. He's a special kind of breed that lives off the land. I'm a cowboy man, that ain't no lying. If you're gonna mess with me, you're gonna have to die. I'm a cowboy. Well, I can ride in the show and rope on the range with the people in the city. I look kind of strange, got Justin boots, a resist all hat. For every single day I will look like that. I was raised in the hills with horses and stuff, and I grew to be strong and I learned to be tough. I don't mind the city because I went to school there, but they got their own problems and I don't really care. I'm a cowboy. Hit 'em up, move 'em out, a cowboy and a man. He's a special kind of breed that lives off the land. I'm a cowboy man, that ain't no lying. If you're gonna mess with me, you're gonna have to die. I'm a cowboy. Well, I got a fixed fence and I got a load hay and I got to brand calves if I wanna get paid. I work real hard to make the cattle grow, cause a cowboy's a full-time job, you know. That's my way of life, like that it will stay. And if you can't live with that, well, you best go away. So I rope my steers and live real rough. If you're gonna be a cowboy, you gotta be